The screech of metal against asphalt pierced the evening air as Marcus Sterling's Lamborghini careened off the highway, flipping twice before slamming into the concrete barrier. Steam hissed from the crumpled hood, and within seconds, orange flames began licking at the engine compartment. Marcus hung upside down, his designer suit torn and bloodied, consciousness flickering like a dying light bulb. The acrid smell of burning fuel filled his nostrils as he struggled against his seatbelt, panic rising in his chest. His vision blurred, and he could taste copper in his mouth. From the overpass above, Maya Rodriguez watched the accident unfold. She had been walking back to the abandoned warehouse she called home when the luxury car lost control. While other pedestrians pulled out their phones to record, Maya didn't hesitate. She vaulted over the guardrail and sprinted toward the wreckage. The heat hit her face like a furnace as she approached the burning vehicle. Through the spider-webbed windshield, she could see the man inside, unconscious now, blood trickling from a gash on his forehead. Maya recognized him immediately. Marcus Sterling, the billionaire CEO who had publicly ridiculed her and her friends just months ago, calling them urban parasites during a city council meeting about homeless youth. The flames were spreading faster now, creeping toward the passenger compartment. Maya grabbed a rock and smashed the side window, ignoring the glass that cut her hands. She reached inside, her fingers working frantically to release his seatbelt. "Come on," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the crackling fire. The metal was getting hot, burning her skin, but she refused to let go. This man had shown her no mercy, but she wouldn't let him die. With a final surge of adrenaline, Maya pulled Marcus from the wreckage just as the fuel tank exploded behind them. Maya dragged Marcus's unconscious body across the rough asphalt, her slight frame straining against his weight. The explosion had singed her hair and left her ears ringing, but she didn't stop until they were a safe distance from the inferno that had been his car. She knelt beside him, checking for a pulse with trembling fingers. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder by the second. Marcus's breathing was shallow but steady, and she could see his chest rising and falling beneath his expensive shirt. Blood seeped from multiple cuts on his face and hands, and his left arm hung at an odd angle. "Stay with me," Maya whispered, though she wasn't sure why she cared. This was the same man who had stood before the city council 6 months ago, his voice dripping with disdain as he spoke about cleaning up the streets and removing undesirable elements from the downtown area. His words had stung because they weren't just about policy. They were about her, about kids like her who had nowhere else to go. The paramedics arrived first, followed closely by fire trucks and police cars. Maya stepped back as the medical team took over, watching as they stabilized Marcus and loaded him onto a stretcher. One of the paramedics, a kind-faced woman in her 50s, approached her. "You're the one who pulled him out?" she asked, noting the burns on Maya's hands and the glass cuts on her arms. Maya nodded, suddenly feeling the pain she had ignored during the rescue. "Is he going to be okay?" "Thanks to you, probably. That was incredibly brave." The paramedic began cleaning Maya's wounds. "What's your name, honey?" "Maya Rodriguez." As the ambulance pulled away with Marcus inside, Maya stood alone on the highway shoulder, watching the firefighters extinguish what remained of the Lamborghini. She had just saved the life of a man who despised everything she represented. Marcus Sterling's eyes opened to the sterile white ceiling of a hospital room, fluorescent lights humming softly above him. His body felt like it had been put through a meat grinder, every muscle ached, and his left arm was encased in a cast from wrist to shoulder. The steady beep of monitors provided a rhythmic backdrop to his confusion. "Mr. Sterling?" A nurse appeared at his bedside, her voice gentle but professional. "You're awake. How are you feeling?" "Like I've been hit by a truck," he croaked, his throat raw and dry. Fragments of memory began piecing themselves together. The meeting that had run late, the rain-slicked highway, the moment his car lost traction. What happened? You were in a serious accident. Your car caught fire after the crash. The nurse checked his IV line and made notes on her tablet. You're very lucky to be alive. Someone pulled you out before the fuel tank exploded. Marcus tried to process this information. He remembered the heat, the smell of gasoline, the feeling of being trapped. But everything after that was a blank. Who saved me? A young woman named Maya Rodriguez. She's the one who got you out of the car. The name hit him like a physical blow. Maya Rodriguez. He knew that name. The scrawny girl with defiant eyes who had stood up during the public comment period at the city council meeting, challenging his proposal to increase police presence in areas where homeless youth congregated. He had dismissed her then, barely looking up from his phone as she spoke about the struggles of kids living on the streets. Where is she now? He asked, though he wasn't sure why it mattered. She was treated for minor burns and cuts, then released. She didn't leave any contact information. The nurse paused at the door. The doctor will be in to see you shortly. You should rest. As the room fell quiet again, Marcus stared at the ceiling, his mind racing. The girl he had publicly humiliated had risked her life to save his. 3 days later, Marcus was discharged from the hospital with strict orders to rest and attend physical therapy for his injured arm. His penthouse apartment felt different somehow, too quiet, too empty, too removed from the real world. He found himself standing at the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking down at the streets below with new eyes. His assistant, Jennifer, had been fielding calls from reporters wanting to interview the mystery hero who had saved the prominent CEO. Marcus had instructed her to decline all requests, but he couldn't stop thinking about Maya Rodriguez. He needed to find her, to thank her properly, though he suspected his gratitude would be unwelcome. "Sir?" Jennifer knocked on his office door. "I have the information you requested about Maya Rodriguez." Marcus looked up from his laptop, where he had been unsuccessfully trying to focus on quarterly reports. "What did you find?" "It wasn't easy. She doesn't have a permanent address, no credit history, no social media presence. But I did find some records." Jennifer consulted her notes. "She's 24 years old, originally from Phoenix. Her mother died when she was 16, and she aged out of the foster system at 18. She's been in the city for about 3 years. Where does she live? That's the difficult part. According to the police report from the accident, she listed a downtown address, but when I checked, it's an abandoned warehouse. The building's been condemned for 2 years. Marcus felt something twist in his stomach. While he lived in luxury 40 floors above the city, Maya was sleeping in an abandoned building. The girl who had saved his life was homeless, just as she had been when he had dismissed her concerns at the city council meeting. "I want to find her," he said quietly. Jennifer looked surprised. "Sir, I'm not sure that's wise. The media attention, I don't care about the media." Marcus stood up, his cast making the movement awkward. "She saved my life, Jennifer. The least I can do is thank her." Marcus had never set foot in the downtown area where Maya was rumored to live. His driver usually took routes that avoided the grittier parts of the city, whisking him between his penthouse, his office, and the exclusive restaurants and clubs where he conducted business. Now, wearing jeans and a simple sweater instead of his usual tailored suits, he felt conspicuously out of place. The abandoned warehouse Jennifer had mentioned stood like a concrete monument to urban decay, its windows boarded up and covered in graffiti. Marcus approached cautiously, his expensive shoes crunching on broken glass and debris. The building looked dangerous, uninhabitable, yet he knew people were living inside. "You lost, man," a voice called out from the shadows. A young man, maybe 19 or 20, emerged from behind a dumpster. His clothes were dirty, but his eyes were alert, wary. I'm looking for Maya Rodriguez, Marcus said, trying to keep his voice steady. I need to speak with her. The young man's expression hardened. You a cop? Social services? No, Marcus hesitated. How could he explain who he was without revealing why Maya might not want to see him? I'm someone she helped. I just want to thank her. Maya don't need thanks from people like you. The hostility in the young man's voice was unmistakable. She's been through enough. Please, Marcus said, and he was surprised by the desperation in his own voice. I know she has no reason to trust me, but I need to see her, just for a few minutes. Da. The young man studied him for a long moment, then shook his head. She ain't here anyway, left yesterday, didn't say where she was going. He started to walk away, then turned back. You want some advice? Leave her alone. Maya's got enough problems without rich boys playing hero. As Marcus walked back to his car, the young man's words echoed in his mind. Rich boys playing hero. Was that what he was doing? Or was this something deeper, something he didn't yet understand? Maya pushed through the glass doors of the public library, her backpack heavy with the few possessions she owned. The library had become her sanctuary over the past year, a place where she could escape the streets, use the computers, and lose herself in books. Today, she needed the quiet more than ever. The accident 3 days ago had shaken her more than she cared to admit. Not the physical danger, she had faced worse on the streets, but the emotional complexity of saving Marcus Sterling's life. She had acted on instinct, the same instinct that had kept her alive since she was 16. But now she couldn't stop thinking about the irony of it all. She settled into her usual spot in the back corner, pulling out a worn paperback novel she had found in a free book exchange. Reading had always been her escape, a way to imagine different lives, different possibilities. But today, the words blurred on the page as her mind wandered. Excuse me, are you Maya Rodriguez? Maya looked up to see a woman in her 30s, professionally dressed but with kind eyes. Her heart immediately went into defensive mode. Social workers, police and other authority figures had learned to approach her gently, but she could always spot them. Depends who's asking, Maya replied, closing her book but keeping her finger on the page. My name is Dr. Sarah Chen. I'm a trauma counselor at City General Hospital. The woman sat down across from Maya, moving slowly and keeping her hands visible. I was working the night you brought in Marcus Sterling. Maya's stomach tightened. I didn't bring him anywhere. The paramedics did that. You're right, I'm sorry. The night you saved his life. Dr. Chen's voice was gentle, non-threatening. I wanted to talk to you about what happened, if you're willing. Sometimes people who experience traumatic events, even as heroes, need someone to talk to. I'm fine, Maya said automatically, though she wasn't sure that was true. I believe you, Dr. Chen said, but I also know that pulling someone from a burning car, especially someone you have complicated feelings about, can bring up a lot of emotions. I'm here if you need to talk, no strings attached. Maya studied the woman's face, looking for signs of deception or hidden agendas. Finding none, she felt something inside her chest loosen slightly. Dr. Chen had been visiting the library for 3 days, not pushing, just making herself available. Today, Maya finally accepted her invitation to talk over coffee at a small cafe near the library. It was the first time in months that someone had bought Maya a meal without expecting something in return. Tell me about that night, Dr. Chen said, wrapping her hands around her coffee mug. What was going through your mind when you saw the accident? Maya stared into her cup, watching the steam rise. I didn't think. I just acted. Someone was going to die if I didn't do something. Even though that someone was Marcus Sterling. The question hung in the air between them. Maya had been avoiding this conversation even with herself. Yeah, even though it was him. That says a lot about who you are, Dr. Chen said quietly. Most people would have hesitated, given your history with him. Maya laughed bitterly. History, that's a generous word for it. He spent 10 minutes at a city council meeting explaining why people like me were a cancer on society. Said we chose to be homeless, that we were lazy and dangerous. How did that make you feel? Angry, hurt, invisible. Maya's voice grew stronger as she spoke, but mostly it made me feel like I didn't matter. Like my life, my struggles, my story, none of it was real to him. I was just a problem to be solved or swept away. Dr. Chen nodded thoughtfully. And yet, when his life was in danger, you risked yours to save him. I couldn't just watch someone burn to death, even him. Maya met Dr. Chen's eyes. Does that make me stupid? It makes you human. It makes you someone who values life, even when that life belongs to someone who has hurt you. Dr. Chen leaned forward slightly. Maya, what you did took incredible courage, not just physically, but morally. You chose compassion over revenge. For the first time since the accident, Maya felt tears prick at her eyes. She had been so focused on survival for so long that she had forgotten what it felt like to be seen, really seen, by another person. Marcus had been searching for Maya for a week when Dr. Chen called him. She had gotten his number from the hospital records and, after much consideration, decided to reach out. Maya had given her permission to contact him, though she seemed conflicted about it. They arranged to meet at a small park downtown, neutral territory that wouldn't make Maya feel trapped or overwhelmed. Marcus arrived early, his nervousness surprising him. He had negotiated billion-dollar deals without breaking a sweat, but the thought of facing this young woman made his palms damp. Maya appeared at exactly the agreed-upon time, walking across the grass with a cautious stride. She looked smaller than he remembered from the city council meeting, more fragile, but her eyes held the same fierce intelligence that had caught his attention that day, though he had been too arrogant to acknowledge it then. "Mr. Sterling," she said, stopping a few feet away from the bench where he sat. "Marcus, please." He stood up, then immediately sat back down when he saw her tense. "Thank you for agreeing to see me." Maya remained standing, her backpack slung over one shoulder, like she was ready to bolt at any moment. "Dr. Chen said you wanted to thank me, so thank me, and we can both move on." Her directness caught him off guard. He had prepared a speech, something polished and appropriate, but looking at her now, this young woman who had risked everything to save his life, the words seemed inadequate. "I'm sorry," he said instead. Maya's eyebrows rose slightly. "For what? For what I said at the city council meeting, for dismissing you, for not listening, for treating you like you were less than human." Marcus felt the weight of his words, the truth of them. "I was wrong, and I'm sorry." Maya studied his face for a long moment, as if trying to determine whether his apology was genuine. "Okay," she said finally. "Apology accepted. Is that all?" "No," Marcus said quickly. "I want to help you. I want to make things right." "I don't need your charity," Maya's voice sharpened. "I've been taking care of myself just fine." "I know you have, but you shouldn't have to." The conversation in the park had ended abruptly when Maya walked away, but something had shifted between them. Over the next few days, Marcus found himself returning to the library where Dr. Chen had told him Maya spent her time. He didn't approach her, just sat at a table across the room, reading or working on his laptop. Maya noticed him, of course. It was impossible not to notice Marcus Sterling in his expensive clothes, even the more casual ones he had started wearing. At first, his presence made her angry. Was he stalking her now? But as the days passed, she began to observe him more carefully. He wasn't bothering anyone, wasn't making a scene. He read actual books, not just business magazines. He was polite to the librarians and other patrons. Once she saw him help an elderly man reach a book on a high shelf, and there was genuine kindness in the gesture. On Thursday afternoon, Maya finally approached his table. "Are you following me?" Marcus looked up from his book. A novel, she noticed, not a business manual. "I'm reading," he said simply. "In the public library. Every day. For a week. It's a good library, quiet. Good selection." He gestured to the chair across from him. "Would you like to sit?" Maya hesitated, then pulled out the chair. "Why are you really here?" Marcus closed his book, giving her his full attention. "Because I'm trying to understand. You saved my life, and I don't know why. I've been thinking about it every day since the accident, and I can't figure out what kind of person risks their life for someone who has treated them badly." "A stupid person, apparently," Maya said, but there was no real bite in her words. "No," Marcus said seriously. "A good person, a better person than I am." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of his admission hanging between them. Maya studied his face, looking for signs of manipulation or false sincerity, but she found only genuine confusion and something that might have been shame. "You want to understand?" she asked finally. "Then listen. Really listen this time." Marcus nodded, and Maya began to tell him her story. Maya's story unfolded slowly, like a flower blooming in reverse, each revelation more painful than the last. She told Marcus about her mother's death from cancer when Maya was 16, about the foster homes that were more interested in the monthly checks than the children in their care, about aging out of the system with nothing but a garbage bag of belongings and a bus ticket to anywhere. "I came here because someone told me there were more opportunities in big cities," Maya said, her voice steady despite the pain in her words. "Turns out there are more opportunities to get hurt too." Marcus listened without interrupting, his chest tight with an emotion he couldn't name. He had never really thought about what happened to kids who had nowhere to go, had never considered that homelessness might be a result of circumstances rather than choices. "I've been working," Maya continued, "odd jobs, under-the-table stuff. I clean offices at night sometimes, help at the food bank, do whatever I can to earn a few dollars. But it's not enough for rent, not in this city. So I sleep where I can and try to stay safe." "The warehouse," Marcus said quietly, "among other places. It's not ideal, but it's better than the streets." Maya's voice hardened slightly. "I'm not lazy, Mr. Sterling. I'm not a parasite. I'm just someone who got dealt a bad hand and is trying to make the best of it." The words hit Marcus like physical blows. He remembered his speech at the city council meeting, his casual dismissal of people like Maya as problems to be solved rather than human beings with stories and struggles. He had spoken from a place of privilege so complete that he couldn't even see it. "I was wrong," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Everything I said, everything I believed, I was completely wrong." Maya nodded slowly. "Yes, you were. How do I make it right?" "You can't," Maya said simply. "You can't undo what you said or change how it made people feel, but you can do better going forward." Marcus looked at her across the library table, this young woman who had every reason to hate him, but had chosen to save his life instead. "Teach me how." The next few weeks brought unexpected changes to both their lives. Marcus began volunteering at the downtown community center, serving meals and listening to stories from people experiencing homelessness. It was humbling work that stripped away his preconceptions and forced him to confront the complexity of poverty and displacement. Maya, meanwhile, found herself spending more time with Marcus, initially as his reluctant guide to a world he had never bothered to understand. She showed him the places where homeless youth gathered, introduced him to her friends, and helped him see the city through different eyes. "This is Rico," Maya said one afternoon, introducing Marcus to the young man who had confronted him at the warehouse weeks earlier. "He's been on the street since he was 15. Rico eyed Marcus suspiciously, but shook his offered hand. "You're the rich guy Maya pulled out of the burning car." "I am," Marcus said simply. "And you're the one who told me to leave her alone." "Still think I was right about that," Rico said, but his tone was less hostile than before. "Maybe you were," Marcus replied, "but I'm hoping to prove you wrong." As the days passed, Marcus found himself looking forward to these interactions more than his board meetings or business dinners. Maya's presence brought a clarity to his life that he hadn't realized was missing. She challenged him, made him think differently, made him want to be better. Maya, for her part, was surprised by Marcus's genuine commitment to understanding and helping. She had expected his interest to fade once the novelty wore off, but instead, he seemed more determined each day. She watched him struggle with concepts that were foreign to his privileged background, saw him make mistakes, and learn from them. "Why are you doing this?" she asked him one evening as they walked through the downtown area after volunteering at the community center. Marcus considered the question carefully. "Because I want to be the kind of person who deserves to have their life saved by someone like you." The honesty in his answer caught Maya off guard, and she felt something shift in her chest, a warmth she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. 6 months after the accident, Marcus stood before the same city council that had heard his previous speech about homeless youth. This time, Maya sat in the front row, no longer the defiant girl speaking during public comment, but an invited guest, a consultant on the new initiative Marcus was proposing. "6 months ago, I stood before this council and spoke from ignorance," Marcus began, his voice steady and clear. "I characterized homeless youth as problems to be solved rather than people to be helped. I was wrong, and I want to use my resources and influence to make amends." He outlined his proposal, a comprehensive program that would provide not just shelter but job training, education support, and mental health services for young people experiencing homelessness. The funding would come from his personal foundation, but the program would be designed and overseen by people who had lived the experience, people like Maya. "I've learned that charity without understanding is just another form of arrogance," Marcus continued. "Real change requires listening, learning, and following the lead of those who know what they need most." When the council voted unanimously to approve the program, Maya felt tears she had been holding back for months finally fall. Marcus found her outside the building afterward, standing in the same spot where she had confronted him all those months ago. "Thank you," she said simply. "Thank you," he replied, "for saving my life, for teaching me what it means to be human, for giving me a chance to be better." Maya looked up at him, this man who had transformed from her adversary into something she was afraid to name. "What happens now?" Marcus reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted to. When she didn't, he gently took her hand. "Now we build something better, together." As they walked away from the city hall, Maya realized that sometimes the most unexpected collisions of cars, of lives, of hearts could lead to the most beautiful destinations. She had saved Marcus's life that night on the highway, but in the months that followed, he had helped save hers too. The program they would build together would help hundreds of young people find their way off the streets. But more than that, it would stand as proof that people could change, that understanding could bridge any divide, and that love could grow in the most unlikely places. Their story had begun with fire and metal, and the split-second decision to choose compassion over indifference. It would continue with the slower, more deliberate choice to build a life together, one founded on mutual respect, shared purpose, and the unshakable knowledge that they had both been transformed by their collision with each other's worlds.